Good evening, listeners, and welcome to Catholic Forum, a production of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Kingstown. I'm Father Orlando Williams.
I am Angelique Fitzpatrick, and with us today are Cassandra and Paola from Catholic Relief Services.
On Sunday, the Church commemorated the 70th anniversary of the First United Nations Convention on Refugees, highlighting the plight of refugees around the world. Pope Francis released a message for a world of migrants and refugees, which the Church will celebrate on the last Sunday in September. This anniversary and day is also a reminder to all Christians and people of goodwill that even the Holy Family of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph were in fact refugees in Egypt immediately after Jesus' birth. So let us pray. Holy Father, your Son Jesus taught us that there is great rejoicing in heaven whenever someone lost is found, whenever someone excluded, rejected, or discarded is gathered into our we, which thus becomes ever wider. We ask you to grant the followers of Jesus and all people of goodwill the grace to do your will on earth. Bless each act of welcome and outreach that draws those in exile into the we of the community and of the Church, so that our earth may truly become what you yourself created it to be, the common home of all brothers and sisters. Amen.
Amen. So Catholic Relief Services, CRS, works with organizations around the world to help the poor and vulnerable people overcome emergencies, earn a living through agriculture, and access affordable health care. So in St. Vincent, they are currently assisting Caritas Antilles emergency response. CRS also promotes human development by responding to major emergencies, fighting disease and poverty, and nurturing peaceful and just societies. So St. John Paul II noted that Catholic Relief Services is known for the effective and innovative programs of assistance, which it sponsors throughout the world, ever ready at moment's notice to help victims of natural disasters and peoples burdened by poverty, famine, epidemics, and wars. You are inspired by a firm commitment to the rich tradition of Catholic social doctrine, the aim of which is the defense of human person and the safeguarding of human dignity. Cassandra and Paola, welcome to Catholic Forum. We are so delighted to have you with us.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Thanks a lot for having us.
And of course, Cassandra is originally from Haiti and she now lives in the United States.
Correct.
And Paola is from Colombia and she has just started to work with the Catholic Relief Services. And you are in the United States as well, or?
No, I'm still based in Bogota, Colombia.
Okay, so she's still in Colombia. So can you tell us a bit more about Catholic Relief Services, CRS?
Sure. So Catholic Relief Services is the social arm of the Bishops' Conference of the United States. So we are, as you may say, the social arm of the Bishops' Conference overseas. So everything that has to do of assisting the most vulnerable persons who are victim of disaster and emergencies outside of the United States, this is the work of Catholic Relief Services supporting these individuals and families affected. We work through local partners in over 100 countries, and we are part of the Caritas Internationales Confederation, which is a confederation of over 160 members, of which Caritas Antilles, who is our sister agency.
Okay, thank you.
So now as we commemorate the 70th anniversary of the first UN Convention on Refugees, and we look towards the World Day of Migrants and Refugees in September, can you tell us a bit about your experience with migration and possible refugee situation? I know you guys may have worked with several different organizations. So can you tell us a bit more about your personal experience?
Well, first of all, I think we should start in highlight what is a refugee means. And refugee, it is for about people who has been forced to flee. Nowadays, we have around 83 million of people fleeing due to conflicts around the world. And one of the one of them, like 26 millions, are under 18 years old, which is critical and gave us a glimpse of what is going on around the globe. I have been working to respond one of the second largest crisis around the world, which is the Venezuelan migration crisis that is took all places in Latin America and also Caribbean, such as Trinidad and Tobago. We are facing a new situation in which people has been forced to flee due to lack of conditions in terms of food, medicines, and lack of livelihood resources. So there is an increased number of people who are walking. We have an elderly and children with no companion, which is more critical, their vulnerabilities, and also they have no land to stay in because when they're arriving to some places, they are not allowed to have a legal status and have a lot of risks protections.
Yeah, and similar to Paola, so currently in our work in Catholic Relief Services, we do work with local partners in the Latin America and the Caribbean region, supporting the response for the Venezuelan migrant crisis right now. So as my colleague Paola mentioned, some of our partners here in the Caribbean, such as in Trinidad and Tobago, are also recipients of a large population from Venezuela as well. There are other current migration situations happening as well, particularly in Haiti, for example, where persons due to, very long-term crisis, whether it is political instability, natural disaster impacting them as well, forcing persons to leave their home. So it's really condition of crisis and then going, outward, whether it is to countries like the United States or also here in the Caribbean as well, looking for shelter and refuge.
And so the two of you have touched on the next question that I had in mind, which was what are some of the situations around the world that would cause someone to leave their home? Because people do not just pick up one day and say, oh, I'm leaving this place to go. Something would have caused them to have to leave their home and their livelihood. So maybe you can go a bit more into all of those, Venezuela, Haiti, and there are other conflicts happening around the world.
Yeah, basically, you're trying to move just because you don't have resources to stay there in a dignified way. So I think that one of the main reasons is because you're not able to feed your kids, provide food, that you have cortage in terms of the type of meals that you have per day. You have no resources or income to earn the life in a dignity way. And you also are at risks depending of the type of political situation that exists. Sometimes going outside, it is a matter of life, like saving your life because you don't want to be armed or you don't want to die. So for me, it is like combination between how does the context go, how is the political context, how is economic, and how this is struggling with your life and your resources that make you forced to live. One of the most critical that I'm seeing is like you are super desperate that you decide to walk for months just to arrive another place to get food, even when you don't have a shelter or some resources to be in that place.
Yeah, I think very similar to what my colleague said. Usually persons won't leave their home if all is dandy and well. So it has to be a situation of a crisis, of a need, of desperation, of despair, where you have no other option but to seek shelter and support outside of your home. Typically, you want us to remain home. So not having resources to provide for your family, not feeling safe in your own environment, in your own country, having been subjected to a major natural disaster, which has impacted you in so many different levels. So I think understanding these contexts as well, because that journey to travel outside of one's country is not an easy journey as well. Persons are also confronted with so many different challenges and things that they don't, unforeseen events. You don't know. Persons, they cross the road, they walk for months. Others, they have to travel by boat, and we don't know what those conditions will be during that travel. So you're also putting yourself at risk. So to undergo these risks, these persons have no other choice to meet this.
Okay, so I know Paola mentioned the Venezuelan with their migration and refugee. And Cassandra, you mentioned in Haiti. Are there any other projects that you've worked on or any other countries where you had to work with migration and refugee?
Me personally, I've mainly worked on the Venezuela migrant situation, supporting our local partners and also in Haiti with the support of the Jesuits. So we partnered with local institutions, but I have not worked in other. But CRS does work in other countries where there are also migration crises affecting other countries as well.
Seems like Cassandra just focused mainly on the Venezuelan crisis and response in the region.
Okay, so let's just pause for this song, and after this song, we have a few minutes to wrap up this program and say goodbye.
We are called, we are chosen, we are Christ for one another. We are promised to tomorrow while we are for Him today. We are sign, we are wonder, we are sower, we are seed. We are harvest, we are hunger, we are question, we are creed. We are called, we are chosen, we are Christ for one another. We are promised to tomorrow while we are for Him today. We are sign, we are wonder. We are sower, we are seed, we are harvest, we are hunger, we are question, we are creed. Where can we stand justified? What can we believe? No one else but Christ who suffered, nothing more than Christ who rose. Who was justice for the poor? Who was rage against the night? Who was hope for peace for people? Who was light? We are called, we are chosen, we are Christ for one another. We are promised to tomorrow while we are for Him today. We are sign, we are wonder.
Okay, so have you had any work? What's your reflection on all of this happening in the Middle East and so on with the Syrians and all of these other people that have been displaced?
Yeah, I have not directly been involved in the, like a CRS has representation in over 100 countries, so usually different regions will manage different crises and emergencies. So directly per se myself, I would not have experience or direct access to this sort of information. But these are existing crises and migration crises as well.
Okay, so what are some of the ways maybe in St. Vincent and the Grenadines that we can make refugees and migrants feel as though they're part of our society? Because they do come here sometimes. We have them here. So how do we make them part, as Pope Francis says, that they become part of the we?
I think for me, and I'll let Paola also share her thoughts, we are human beings. We're all Christians, or one way or another, we do have certain beliefs. And I think protecting our neighbor is one main core belief that we should have. And we never know when we might be confronted with a similar situation, or loved ones living in neighboring islands or something of the sort. We don't know when a next major disaster. So I think loving our neighbor, protecting our neighbor, whether it is our neighbor physically next door to us, but the neighboring islands next door to us as well, keeping in mind that these are human beings, they are our brothers and sisters, and welcoming them so that they can also feel as a contributing part of our society as well. So I think that for me is the key.
Yeah, I think that we all humans being. And I also think that we should be aware that migrants contribute to knowledge, networks, and skills to be like a strongest community. So they also bring us something to our communities that is helped to improve. So it is an added value, and this is something that we should take into account.
So as we end Catholic Forum, we're remembering what Pope Francis said. We are called to the dream together, fearlessly, as a single human family, as companions on the same journey, as sons and daughters of the same earth that is in our home, sisters and brothers all. So thank you once again for listening to Catholic Forum. We hope you have a blessed week.